In tonight's news, a dazzling ice spectacular straight from the entertainment capital of the United States. The Las Vegas Revue premieres at the Civic Theatre tomorrow night. At today's rehearsals, it was all smooth skating. For all the news, join us tonight at 6.
Trucks carting coal from Coal and Allied Stockrington No. 2 colliery sat idle for more than 2 hours this morning as railwaymen from the Richmond Vale Railway blockaded the road. The railway workers, protesting the line's premature closure, were joined by residents of the area who clashed angrily with the truck drivers over the increased trucking.
For all the news,
Join us tonight
at 6.
For late-night shoppers, it was a case of first in might be served. At Jesmond, grocery shelves at Woolworths were left bare, mainly in the packaged goods and tin products. Most shoppers were hoping for a quick end to the Storeman and Packers strike.
Some biscuit lines are out, but I haven't got very far yet.
Do you think you'll be able to do most of your shopping?
I only need a few things. I'm pretty well stocked up.
I think it's absolutely appalling.
What about your shopping? Have you been able to get many items?
Not a thing. Half of what I've got on the list.
There's nothing. Make shopping easier, but I'll give you that too much.
The major stores already closed in the area are Woolworths at Warners Bay, Swansea and Umina, Fleming's at Greenpoint and East Maitland, Coles at Belmont and Jewel Outlets at Umina and Toukley. However, most of the bigger stores will remain open with plenty of bread and dairy supplies and fresh fruit and vegetables. In Newcastle, the union members will meet at 2:30 to hear the outcome of talks in Sydney early today. And if no agreement is reached, at least one shopper may have the solution. What are you going to do if the strike continues?
Go on a diet.
Coal and Allied plan to close the line and retrench the 18 employees today, replacing the train-hauled coal with heavy road trucking. Yesterday, however, the railwaymen forced a confrontation with the company by blockading the road into the Stockrington No. 2 colliery. The men claim the line is economical and want Coal and Allied to reconsider its decision. When the company's demand that the blockade be removed was ignored, the men were sacked and told they'd forfeited all their severance entitlements. Police eventually broke up the blockade, but not before residents, angry at the increase in road trucking, clashed with the truck drivers.
We are talking about dead people on this road.
The trucks have been running since last Friday, despite a Newcastle City Council request to the company that it keep the railway line open while a 10-tonne load limit on part of the trucking route was discussed. Coal and Allied, however, says there's nothing to discuss, and if the limit is imposed, they will close the pit altogether.
Well, I can't see any other alternative. If the mine can't produce coal, well, the mine can't produce coal if it can't move coal. And if we can't produce coal, we have no jobs for the fellas.
The men continued their protest by a sit-in on a steam loco they'd commandeered from Hexham. Today, after a day and a night with the loco, they say they will stay until at least Monday, canvassing for support and signatures. Ironically, the road they've made home is on the coal route, and trucks carrying the coal they would haul roar by every few minutes. Coal and Allied say the men are acting illegally, but have so far made no move to retrieve their engine. Kerry Bryan, union organiser, doesn't see it that way.
Well, we're not actually stealing the locomotive. What we're doing is claiming our right to work and, just having a sit-in and a formal protest.
High on a hill lives a not-so-lonely goat herd. Mark Butler, his wife Donna and their 4 children tend a herd of Angoras, a breed of goats synonymous with soft glossy coats of mohair. The Butlers are running a commercial enterprise. Twice a year, the capricious creatures are rounded up and handed over to a shearer.
It all comes on a kilo weight. The younger the animal, the higher the quality. So depending on the market, which is governed by overseas market, you could get to about $20, $22 a kilo for your top animal.
The fine soft mohair is painstakingly gathered for classing and eventual sale overseas. Mark Butler believes he has just begun to exploit a lucrative export market. While the gossamer-like threads his own goats grow are exported raw, he also buys spun and dyed mohair. The balls of colourful yarn, grown from goats and Angora rabbits, are manufactured into garments. The Butlers design their own patterns and knit lengths of fabric for jumpers and luxury ski wear. Donna puts the finishing touches to items that will eventually grace fashion-conscious women in Japan.
The market we've established has found the tourist trade is very interested in them because it's Australian made.
As for the goats, the Butlers say they are easy to manage and provide a relatively quick return. A female worth around $500 will give birth within 5 months of falling pregnant. From the Butler family's point of view, the goats are affectionate and, for what it's worth, more intelligent than sheep.
Hello, I'm Jane Button. It's bush like this that has fire officers really worried. It's incredibly dry and poses a severe bushfire threat.
For all the news, join us tonight at 6.
It's been a reasonably wet winter and consequently undergrowth in the Hunter is denser than usual. With the first warm weather, some areas such as the Central Coast are already dangerously dry. In August, the Wyong Shire experienced about 60 bushfires.
Bush like this is fast drying out in the warmer weather. It's quickly becoming a tinderbox that really is virtually going to be a fire time bomb.
But according to Bob Hatton, the regional officer of the Bushfire Council of New South Wales, once the westerly winds really set in, bush won't even have to be dry for it to burn furiously.
Now, it doesn't matter too much when you go into a fire season how green the growth is. If the humidity drops, you've got problems, and if humidities are lower than 20%, we have fires on the run.
Even growth that's appears quite green can in fact burn.
My word, quite ignitable, no worry at all. Temperatures go up, as I said, humidity goes down. The humidity is what sort of directs your firefighting.
Since the 1920s, when Chichester Dam was completed, the towns of Dungog, Patterson and Clarencetown have been taking their water from the Chichester-Newcastle pipeline, and they've paid less for it. Nowadays it costs residents about 22 cents a kilolitre. The president of the Hunter District Water Board, Alan McLaughlin, says the board wants to increase the rates to about 57 cents a kilolitre. That amount is comparable with the rates other water users pay in the region.
I think it's important to note that Dungog's been receiving a discounted supply for many years because they've had to take whatever has been in the pipeline. As from January, they will be receiving fully treated water, and we have suggested to them that they should pay the same rate for that water as everyone else does.
The Dungog Shire Council says it's expected the water rate increase given the cost of the new multi-million-dollar water treatment plant, which comes online next year. But the council says it would like to see the increases phased in over a 4 or 5 year period to offset the cost of the 150% increase for water users. The proposal put forward by the council on the introduction of the new rates is now being considered by the Water Board.
Mum Shirl has been a guiding light in Sydney's Aboriginal community for decades, helping thousands of disadvantaged children through direct care and by placing them in foster homes. Her annual fundraising efforts through the Black Santa appeal have made Christmas brighter for countless children over the years. Today, it was Shirley's turn to receive. Her name now carried with pride by this new firefighting tug, the second of a series of 3 in a $9 million Maritime Services Board contract. The first was launched a month ago with the name of another person devoted to community service, Ted Knopfs. The last will also carry a worthy name when launched in October. As Mum Shirl sent her vessel down the slipway, she said a prayer for the safety of all who sail in her and for those in need that the emergency service tug will be called on to help. And she had a philosophical way of looking at the sturdy craft.
It's not going to turn over and sink in front of me. But then it righted itself and then it stood up. And it was just like somebody falling over and standing up and being counted.
Managing Director of Carrington Slipways, Don Laverick, is just back from overseas, heartened about his chances of helping to build the Navy's new frigates after talks with design consultants. Mr Laverick is also excited about another federal government contract about to be put out to tender, a Department of Science Antarctic research vessel.
It's an Antarctic research ship, which is an icebreaker, which will take the place of the Nella Dan, which you probably have heard has been trapped in the ice a couple of times in the last few years.
Yeah, why are you so interested in that? What makes you think that you could be the one to build it, and what would it mean to you if you do get the job?
Well, it means a lot of employment for a lot of people here in the shipyard. It's a major contract. It's probably worth somewhere $50 million and means a lot for Australia and our image as shipbuilders.
The new owner of Hilltop Plaza is Lendlease Retail Projects, now managing nearby Charlestown Shopping Square. A spokesman from Lendlease today confirmed the selling price of $4.25 million for the 40 specialty shops and offices, as well as a Shuey supermarket. Lendlease purchased the plaza from Ascended No. 17 Proprietary Limited under property developer Kurt Picardi. At this stage, Lendlease has no major development changes for the shopping centre and plan to undertake a medium-term ownership before it's placed on the market again for reselling.
Donald Horne is well known for his book The Lucky Country, written in the 1960s. However, he says if Australia ceases to be lucky, it will be a good thing. In economic and strategic areas, he says Australia shouldn't depend on luck, but on intelligence and creativity. He says many problems faced in Australia today stem back to the Menzies era, and he focuses on this issue in his soon-to-be-released book, The Lucky Country Revisited.
One of the greatest problems for Australia is that in a lot of our business life we have been enormously uncreative, dependent and failing to do the same kind of work for Australia that the artists, scientists and scholars and intellectuals are doing.
And how does this relate to the Menzies era?
And the Menzies era was a period in which Menzies himself, I think, was in some ways, if you wanted to use picturesque language, a kind of national traitor, a person who really despised Australian originality and creativity in the arts and science and also in business.
Associate Professor in Politics at the University of New South Wales, he also has strong views on the Australia card. He sympathises with the aims that lie behind it.
I hope that the methods that are going to be used instead of the card will be successful in ensuring that tax plungers pay their taxes, and also, of course, that people who are in other ways not making the contributions to the government revenues do so.
Victoria Metropolitan were the team tipped to beat before the championships began on Monday, and they're proving the pundits right. Seen here in navy blue, they last night thrashed Tasmania 125-35. Although the oldest in the team is only 15, 6 of them are more than 1 metre 90 tall, or 6 feet 3, with 2 of them towering over 2 metres. Meanwhile, Victoria Country tasted their first defeat last night at the hands of Western Australia Metropolitan 87-81, but are still expected to make it into tomorrow night's semi-finals. New South Wales Country, which is dominated by Newcastle blood, had a bye last night, and tonight at 9 come up against Queensland. They will have to beat the Queenslanders to make the finals playoff. In this afternoon's only 2 results, South Australia Metropolitan beat Tasmania 110-62. The South Australians now join Victoria Metropolitan as the Group 1 qualifiers for the playoffs tomorrow. In the other game, New South Wales Metropolitan beat South Australia Country 111-63.
Newcastle police say 45-year-old George Schmidt was murdered. Schmidt's body was found in a room at the Carlton Hotel yesterday where he lived. The door to his room was padlocked and police believe he had been dead since Friday. Detective Senior Sergeant Galligoli says the nature of Schmidt's injuries, facial fractures and lacerations to the throat, his position in the room and signs of a scuffle all point to murder. Police have no motive for the slaying. The victim did have a criminal record of serious robbery and assault charges, but these appear to be unrelated. Schmidt's body was found at 19 Zara Street, not far from where the body of Wayne Newman was found in July. Newman and Schmidt were friends, but police say there is no apparent connection.
Well, we've located some people who were associating with him. We've interviewed one person this morning. We are endeavouring to locate a known female who was an associate of his, and we hope that she'll be able to perhaps piece it together a little bit better for us.
Good afternoon, I'm Belinda Borisow. The 2 people charged in connection with a murder in Newcastle's East End appeared briefly in court this morning. We'll be bringing you a full report on that tonight in NBN News.
For all the news,
join us tonight
at 6.
This Sunday, the Swansea Belmont Surf Club Superman race, made up of 4 legs, begins at the Belmont 16-foot skiff club and ends at Blacksmiths Beach. Competitors start with a swim to the Lake Macquarie Yacht Club, then a run to the Pelican Boat Shed, followed by a ski leg to Swansea Channel, finishing with a board leg into Blacksmiths Beach. The state's top Ironmen will be taking part, including the current New South Wales champion Russell Cooper, Dean and Darren Mercer, Robert Chapman and Swansea Belmont's Guy Andrews. About 200 surfers from 14 clubs from around New South Wales and Queensland will gather between Merriweather and Bar Beach over the 3 days to fight it out in 4 divisions: Open, 9-foot Traditional, Old Malibu and Masters. The Steel City Classic is considered to be one of the biggest longboard events in the world and is organised by the Steel City Malibu Club. In the 9-foot and Masters section, Peter Cornish from the Steel City Club is starting as one of the favourites, while Roger Clements will prove hard to beat in both the Open and the 9-foot divisions. Other well-known names taking part are Robbie Wood, Sam Egan, Mark Rabbage, Bruce Palmer and Jeff Fetting from Wollongong. As well as some top surfing, there'll be a $3,000 treasure hunt on Monday and a special type of event for those with only Ironmen constitutions. The Spic Emerald became the 5th tanker in 3 days to be attacked by Iranian speedboats. It was peppered by rocket-propelled grenades and machine gun fire. Like the Pakistani tanker Yohar hit yesterday, the Spic Emerald limped back to port and dropped anchor. Meantime, NBN Television was showing just how the attacks are made, broadcasting Iranian manoeuvres in the Caspian Sea. In the Soviet Union, Mikhail Gorbachev has visited the Northern Fleet at anchor in Murmansk. He used the occasion to propose talks between the East and West on restricting naval and air force activity in the Baltic, North, Norwegian and Greenland seas, and to promote the creation of a nuclear-free zone in Northern Europe. The Americans say they doubt his motives, while NATO says it will consider the suggestion. And in Moscow, preparations of a Soviet invasion of another kind. One of the Soviet Union's top dress designers, Slava Zaitsev, will be taking his creations to the New York catwalk next month. Zaitsev's House of Fashion opened in Moscow 5 years ago and will be making dresses under license in New York using American fabrics. But according to some, there's still a long way to go before we see this sort of high fashion on the streets of Moscow.
It's the first time the Cruising Yacht Club in Sydney has conducted a race to Port Stephens, and the first time Range Rover has sponsored a yachting event. The regatta consists of two 90 nautical mile legs to Sydney and back. One of the most impressive entries is the Maxi yacht Sovereign, which measures nearly 30 metres on the water. Second through the heads was Dr. Dan, a regular and proven ocean racing performer. Each leg takes between 15 and 18 hours, depending on the weather conditions, and most are hoping for a stiff northerly breeze tomorrow. And so, after some well-deserved rest and recreation in Port Stephens tonight, the fleet will leave tomorrow bound for Sydney.